Martini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned, because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail.
Welcome. I want to welcome you to a very special show. Many of you have heard me over a lot of decades talk about the many things that can happen to the body and especially mind, and things that show up that you don't expect. Maybe something shows up and all of a sudden you can't move your neck. Maybe something shows up and you have things that are going on in your ankles you didn't think about. Maybe something shows up and you realize that you're just not focusing. Things are not happening. Or maybe you show up and you just feel like your nervous system is falling apart. You've heard me talk about the Rezzimax. You've heard Mary Jane Mack, very special guest today, and we have a very special guest today, talk about the Rezzimax. The Rezzimax is something that you're going to hear a lot about today, but more importantly, how do you fine-tune your nervous system? And right now, I will tell you, millions of people out there need to get their nervous system fine-tuned, and quickly. How do we know? The stats are out. We're looking at it for this year. We're looking at what's going on with people. We're looking at the stress in their lives. We're looking at the after effects of that. And yet we sit around and turn around and we don't really have a solution until now. So today, if you're suffering from different things, whether it's stress, anxiety, ADHD, and more, we've got something for you. Mary Jane, you are welcome, Mary Jane. This is a great show. It's so fun, right? And we have somebody special here today that knows more about the Rezzimax than my ability to even say it. So let's have an introduction for one of the co-creators, right?
The creator of Rezzimax, my friend Sharik Peck. I met Sharik several years ago at a Master Circle seminar, and he was demonstrating the Rezzimax, which I instantly was attached to. I knew it was a fabulous technology and could do miracles. Sharik Peck is the founder, and he is the best, the nicest, the most caring person that I know. He cares about every individual, and his goal is to share his work with everybody so they could have optimum health. And his mission is he lives it, his mission, and shares it with the world. Rezzimax now is in over 92 countries, I think. Right, Sharik?
Yes, somewhere over there.
Yeah, somewhere over there in a short time. Sharik speaks at seminars all over the United States and all over the world, actually. He's connected with the top neurologists in the country who, when they discovered what Sharik had invented, the Rezzimax, and how powerful it was in helping the most difficult brain injuries and nervous conditions, and having great results, getting people to walk faster, getting people, kids with ADHD and issues who are hyperactive to calm down and be able to live a normal life. There's so many things that the Rezzimax can do. It's unbelievable. And there's so much information on YouTube and the Rezzimax.com. And today we're lucky to have Sharik share some of those really important top issues to help you. One thing is about calming down the vagus nerve, which is the most important thing anyone can do. And I want those people who think that they've tried everything, nothing works, and no one can help them. I want them to be open and listen to this message because it is not impossible for you to be better and heal. And I hear people say, I've been to 50 doctors, I've done this. So you have to be open to possibilities and believe in yourself and believe that there is something. God has a better plan for you. And that plan is to be the best you can be. So be open to the possibilities and listen to all the wonderful stories Sharik has to share. So Sharik, I think the most important, once again, is explain why the vagus nerve is so important and what we do to calm it down.
I would love to do that. I've become fascinated with this system, that vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve. There's only 12 sets of paired cranial nerves. These are nerves that don't go through the spinal cord, and they regulate all of the important functions of the body, from sleep and heart rate and breathing and smell, and all of your senses are primarily brought in through these cranial nerves and through their associations. But the 10th cranial nerve is a particularly beautiful thing that God gave us. It connects all of our main organs, and it tells the body to pull out the chemicals that it needs to create the serotonin and the dopamine and all of these important chemicals that help regulate the nervous system. And the vagus nerve regulates the heart rate and rhythm, and it regulates so many important things that help us to heal or sleep. And anyway, that system has to run in the background for us to be able to survive. The problem is the stress response, and other cranial nerves like the 5th cranial nerve, the trigeminal system, is primarily geared up to help run the fight or flight mechanism, the trauma mode. And when the trauma mode or the stress patterns are running really high, the vagus nerve shuts itself down a little bit and goes into the background, goes into hiding, so that we can survive to another day. So it's a survival mechanism that keeps the vagus nerve from functioning very well. And that has become a point of fascination for us in our work. We have been working diligently to create the right kind of sensation, the right kind of feel, the right kind of resonance to grab a hold of the attention of that vagus nerve and help it improve its efficiency, help it run better so that we sleep more deeply, we recover more fully, and we're ready to take on the challenges of this life.
I want to add something because I want to give a real life example to the audience. So can you imagine this? Look, here's the scenario. You ready? You have a friend and they cannot stop coughing. No kidding, right? And what do I mean? So many of you understand exactly what I'm saying. We came out of COVID, kind of a bunch of things happening to our bodies we don't understand. But when you can't stop coughing, imagine your life. So we get up, we go to see Mary Jane Mack. And my friend sits in one of the most amazing chairs Mary Jane Mack has. And she takes the Rezzimax, and I don't even know how to describe what Mary Jane Mack did, but I want to tell you the result. Because it's through results that you'll understand the power of this, especially from me, a layperson's perspective. And within about 20 minutes of whatever Mary Jane Mack did, whatever the Rezzimax did, however that worked, my friend got up from that chair smiling and not coughing. Now, if y'all can come up with another reason for how that happened, please feel free to give us a call, 1-800-930-2819. And again, we're taking your questions, 1-800-930-2819. That's one example. We have many. I have many. But Mary Jane, you remember that, right?
Oh, absolutely. But I'd like Sharik to talk about how that happens, how that works.
I'd be happy to. You see, it goes back to that vagus nerve again. One of the things that we found from COVID was a significant disconnect of the cranial nerve system. So the senses were kind of pulled apart a little bit. And one of the mechanisms in the body that is a stress response is the cough. It senses or feels that something is not quite right, and the cough is an attempt to improve the functioning of the body's healing mechanism. And so if a body is feeling for such a long period of time that there is not the communication of the immune system, of the vagus nerve system, and the autonomic nervous system, if all of these things feel a bit disconnected from the perspective of the body, a cough, a hiccup, a stutter, all of these things are things that develop in the central nervous system because there's not quite the full communication and connection. And so when we hit the right buttons, we can put back the sequencing. We can reboot the computer that has gone offline. And it's no magic. It's just simply getting the communication reestablished in the central nervous system.
And how do we do that with Rezzimax?
Well, one of the first things that we do is sensory messaging. We'll use the device. We'll use, this is the device. This is actually a mouthpiece we made for it. But we'll use this device and the wings as a way of sending messaging to the brain and to the cerebellum that says, this is exactly where these parts of the body are that we're working on. And when the brain says, aha, I remember exactly where my hand and my fingers and my arm are, it gets this calibration that helps it become more aware of all the rest of the parts and pieces that are connected. So it's like creating the picture that we once did in school of the dot to dot or the connect a number. And we're making the picture that was just a bunch of random dots that were put in motion by disease or a disconnect or COVID or whatever it is. We take those and we rearrange them so that the brain says, aha, I know exactly where all my parts and pieces are. So one of the first things we do is send sensory input from the feet and the toes and the legs and the arms and the face and the head, and let the brain reorganize itself. Now we also have a very gentle resonance running through here. People oftentimes ask us, what's the secret? What's the magic behind the patterns or the energy that you put into the device? And I say it's simple. It's so simple that we look to a pattern that was made way before us. We use the purring harmonic range of a cat. Something so simple. God built that little mechanism, that purring, to try and keep us from throwing the cat off of the earth, right? They're kind of a crazy little creature, but that purring has such a redeeming factor for all of us. That it speeds up bone healing by as much as 66%, according to the research that we've looked at. It speeds up or heals mechanisms in the body for animals and people. For all of us, it helps us improve the functioning of the autonomic nervous system. So we took that very simple, gentle range and we send that message up to the body to help the brain organize itself, but based on this simple harmonic range. Well, then you add in one other key factor. You see that vagus nerve that we talked about? It's in charge of your vocal cords. For those of you who love anatomy, the recurrent laryngeal branch of the vagus nerve is all about vibration and resonance. And guess what? Our purring mechanism also meshes very well with the cat purring harmonic range. And so essentially we're teaching the body to tune itself to a perfect frequency that God already made. Now we got a little fancy and we actually calibrated 3,000 energy points in that energy range, and we play it back to the body in songs that teach it how to heal itself over time, how to stop having migraine headaches, how to stop having MS and these other conditions that have been plaguing people for so long. that's what seems like magic is just simply a tuning effect of the central nervous system.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question. I started this 23 years ago because I was at the worst point in my life. I really didn't know where I was going to go. So, what I've discovered in that point in time, and especially many shows with Mary Jane, is that there's usually a backstory about somebody going through pain, challenges, I don't know, bottoming out, defeat. So, behind this story, you have a story. There's a reason. See, people ask me, Sharik, Mary Jane, why, Pat? Why do you keep why? So you have a why. Would you share that with how you came to create this and what was the motivation for it?
I would be delighted to. And I have to reach back through a lifetime of injuries and illnesses to understand it myself.
Yeah.
57 years later, I'm finally starting to put all the pieces together. But when I was 2 years of age, I was dropped on my head. Some kids were swinging me, and they let go, and I landed on my head and shoulder. And the bottom line was, over the next several years, my head was kinked off to the side, and nobody knew how to straighten me up. I went to all kinds of doctors and chiropractors and physical therapists and surgeons. My mom was trying to figure out what to do with me, and they just said, there's really nothing that can be done, but he's going to end up with his head kinked off to the side, his shoulder will raise, his spine will turn, and he will have a big lump on his back, and that's just going to be his world. And as you can see, that hasn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
But then the rest of the story started to fill in. We found out years later I had broken my neck at that time. But because of the soft little bones and cartilage pieces of a young child, they didn't see that on x-ray.
Mm.
But by the time I was, in my young adulthood, we could see exactly what had happened. The problem was I didn't know what had happened, and they slowly straightened me out. I had a really good chiropractor that slowly was able to give me my motion back. And that was a beautiful thing. But years later, in my teenage years, I started wrestling, and I got really good at that sport. But you're starting to see where this is going. I have instability in my neck. My C1, C2 doesn't hold together very good.
Wow.
And that's a bad combination when you get in a headlock. And so I found myself at age 17 having suffered a massive stroke wrestling. And it ruptured
Wow.
a vertebral artery. There's only four main arteries that bring blood supply into the brain, and I had ruptured one of them. And the statistics are terrible for recovery from such an injury. I had paralysis on the left side of my body. I saw double of everything, and I could not get the brain to function. I couldn't talk right. I couldn't feed myself. But then over time, I slowly started to heal, and the numbness started working out. The flexibility started coming back, and eventually I could see and feel fairly normal, but my brain didn't work very well. There were lots of gray areas where it had died off. Particularly, if you understand the anatomy, that vertebral artery is one of the big blood supplies for the cerebellum. And so my sense of awareness of the world and things coming at me was really messed up for a long time.
Mm.
But it was out of that I decided, you know what? When I could get back on my 2 feet, and this was months after the injury, I wanted to dedicate my life to helping other people that had had similar brain injuries get back on their feet. And so became a physical therapist. I've been a physical therapist now for over 30 years, and working to help people get back on their feet and get functioning again. But about 15 years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night and I just had this understanding that has never left me. And I had been trying really hard to figure out how to help my wife with her chronic neck pain. I've had chronic neck pain all my life. I broke my back as a teenager as well. That added to it. All of these things added in and were compounding. And I realized this night that vibration held the key to it. I had a divine message.
Wow.
That I couldn't shake. And I turned to my wife and I said, wow, I need something to help the world. I need something, vibration. And she is like, that makes no sense, and went back to sleep. But I lay there the rest of the night trying to make sense of that. And from that point until now, over 15 years, we've now engaged in several research projects. We've found that perfect harmonic range. We went through thousands of things that vibrate, and you can get lots of things that vibrate off the shelves of any major drugstore and Walmart. But they're not calibrated to this beautiful, perfect range that we found. And so from that day till now, we've now sent out, we're coming up on close to 30,000 of our devices now throughout the world. They've found their ways into many, many countries. We have a distribution system in Australia. We're setting it up in Europe and several other places. But we are on a mission for the rest of my life. I'm going to try and help people heal that vagus nerve so that it can help them function better in all life activities. So that's where it came from, and that's where we're going.
Yeah. And I want to tell everybody Rezzimax.com, Rezzimax.com. Mary Jane, I want to kick it back to you because that same person that was sitting in your chair, remember when she got in the chair, she's like, I cannot stop the ringing in my ears. And I bring that back to you because you are treating many, many, many people and you're seeing the results. And for those of you out there, I want to tell you, I'm not going to mention my friend's name, but I will tell you skepticism is the middle name. And so when you're thinking ain't going to work for me because I don't believe in it, what I'm about to say to you is that is not true. So Mary Jane, now that you've heard this and you know when my friend sat in that chair and she's like, my ears are ringing. I mean, what a mess. I mean, bottom line, ears are ringing. Can't stop coughing. You name it. Stomach is upset. And I remember this like it was yesterday. And I would love for you to share other stories and other things that you've seen with it. Within, what was it, about 20 minutes, maybe a half hour, let's say a half hour, she got up from that chair. No coughing, no ringing. And my friend, by the way, Sharik, could not have any other electronic device because she has an implant. Right? You understand? So I want to bring that out for those of you thinking, I can't use it. I got an AFib thing. I got a this. I got a that. So Mary Jane, what all have you seen and how could we help the audience understand how powerful this is? And Sharik, thank you so much for that story. I try not to cry on the show, but thank you so much for sharing that because without what you've created, the pain will continue. Mary Jane, what do you think?
Well, I hear this story all the time, and that's why I asked Sharik to talk about the most difficult people, because there are that certain group of people that think, I have tried everything, nothing works for me. So by them telling themselves that all the time, they've closed the door.
Yeah.
And they don't realize they are not so special that they're the only ones that can't be helped. That is not true. And Sharik will tell you that also. Those people, if they believe it's not going to work, I can tell you it's not going to work. But if they can be open to the possibility that yes, they can be better, then they can be well.
Yeah.
And Sharik, I'd really like you to talk about some of those cases because you've seen the most difficult and even the most common thing, like your own kids that had some issues that you didn't recognize.
Yeah, I think the audience really thinks that this is like another device, but I do want to talk about the difficult cases, Mary Jane. Let's go. What are some of the most difficult? What's your top three, Sharik, that you've seen?
Well, one of them just recently is an interesting case of a man who has MS for 10 years. He's a Broadway actor, so very aware of himself. If you follow our Instagram channel, you'll see that he was recently featured by a Broadway voice coach and showing him how to use the tuner on certain parts of his face and head that would turn off his tremor and improve the quality of his voice. And after that experience with our friend, the Broadway voice coach, he reached out and he said, "Is there more that you can do to help me? I've got to become stronger. I've got to function better. I need my voice back." And he got a couple of our tools, a set of both our small one and our bigger one. And he's been doing this mouth piece and regulating his cranial nerves. Bottom line is this: in 2 months of consistently working on some activities that we showed him how to do and what to do, working with a metronome, doing some things to get the brain, the right and left sides of his brain communicating, his symptoms are down 50% in his 10-year history of MS, meaning all of his tremors. He just came off 12 days straight of 10 to 12-hour days of recording and doing some of his work. He said, "Before you helped me with this, I could not have done that." That's just 2 months into his treatment now. He's down 50%. But what's really nice is he's working very closely with his medical doctor, and he's very aware of his system. And he said, "Doctor, by 10 days into this," he said, "I can feel I'm being over medicated. Can you help me re-change my dosage on my Parkinson's medications?" And his doctor worked very closely with him. He has come down a third on his medications because his body is working more efficiently. And that's just one case. Another case that's really fun is an individual with multiple sclerosis, 20-year history of MS. When I first saw her, she had been in a wheelchair for a couple of years. And now today, she's been using our device for, I think, 3 or 4 years. She's out of her wheelchair. She's functioning. She's doing her own broadcasting and has become a health coach to share her story and empowerment with other people. She is able to regulate her nervous system to give it a boost in energy, and she figured it out until her system's back online. She rarely has any of the issues from the MS now. So those are two really hard cases. Another case was a paralysis case. She had become and you can find this on my YouTube channel, but she had become a T10, T11 paraplegic in a bicycling accident. And for 10 months after the accident, could not feel or move anything below that level of the injury. The first day we worked with her, she was able to watch her toes move on the most affected side, and she was able to move her ankle. Well, fast forward a few months, 6 months later, she's now walking with forearm crutches and being able to take care of most of her needs, whereas she was completely in a wheelchair before that. So these are just a couple of cases that help demonstrate how powerful the communication can be when we wake up the peripheral system and the central system and get them communicating again.
Yeah. I want to tell everybody out there because we have a lot of practitioners that watch the show. And I just want to say to all of you out there, especially those of you I know that listen to this show at this time of day, you can become certified. And Mary Jane can talk about that. But this is a way for you to pay it forward and help heal. You see, these stories are the stories that greatness is made from. Because sometimes in the world, right? And Mary Jane, you've seen this a million times with people, they're just like, that is not going to work for me. There's another aspect to this on your website, Rezzimax.com. You have a learning section. So people are going to be able to go in there and learn and say, I've got this now. This is what I can do. However, there's some insight that Mary Jane provides in what she does to people like me that can't get a gallbladder right. Or, okay, some days Mary Jane, put the Rezzimax, sleep with the Rezzimax. And then you wake up the next day and boom, you don't even understand. It doesn't even enter your mind. You don't feel well. Mary Jane, this is part of what we do. This is what's the power of this. And to your point, we now have science from you, from anecdotal, but Dr. Emoto opened up a door when he measured frequency and sound. And that door has not been closed. So what you shared, what you're both sharing, this is grounded in story and science, isn't it?
Exactly. And with me, I have clients all over the United States and in the UK, and most of my clients own their own Rezzimax. And with that, when I talk to them, I can tell them exactly what to do and how to do it. But the beauty about getting a Rezzimax is it comes with an online manual with all the basics. And then if you have another question, if you go to YouTube, they have a video for everything on YouTube. So you're not going to get this device and not know what to do with it. If it's that simple to have your own manual online, and it's a very short video, it tells you exactly what tools to use, how to do it, and it doesn't take long. Even the morning wake up, scraping your whole body, it takes 10 minutes. So it's not something that's time consuming. You can have results very quick.
Can you talk about that more, Mary Jane? Because you have mentioned it to us, and it's on my list to do scraping today. But can you explain that? Because that is a frequency clearing flow, isn't it? Okay, I'm sorry. Correct me if I'm wrong about the way I'm talking about this, Sharik. But for me, it's a frequency clearing flow, and 10 minutes, and we're not talking about hurting yourself, but it's an approach that people take, and you can use it on your pets, right?
Oh, and sometimes people think, oh, I can't do that. That takes too long. That's when I say it doesn't take that long. I do it every day. And it's like Sharik said, you use the Rezzimax, you rub between your toes, and then you scrape every part of your body. So you don't have to keep going over and over. You just scrape every part of your body, each leg, the thigh, the calf, the thigh. You go up to the belly, you do your chest, you do your hands between your fingers, up your arm, you do your neck, your head, and as much as your back. And like at the office, Nancy will come in with grab the Rezzimax, and she'll scrub my back every day. And you talk about a wake-up call, you're ready to go. So yeah, so it's like pretty amazing. And Sharik can tell you, most things don't take very long. Head and neck don't take very long. It's a matter of just get in there and do it and get the results.
Yeah. And let me just ask you, Sharik, we're talking about individuals, but I'm really struck by the athletic part of this, not just for adults. I'm an athlete. I'm a professional. Okay, don't laugh. Table tennis player, better known as ping pong. And I can tell you that when I'm done playing, if I wake up the next day and I have not done anything with the Rezzimax, I can't even walk. But how is this from where you both sit? How are we using this for athletes? And I don't really understand. I mean, if you're a parent listening to this and you're putting your kid out on the football field or the soccer field, this is something for you to think about. But what is the results here with people that are, I'm doing okay, but I'm not doing good enough?
Can I address that, Mary Jane?
Absolutely, absolutely.
We're working with some of the best doctors in the country and in the world right now that are working with Olympic athletes. They're working with professional athletes. And I am learning a lot from watching how they're using it. So in the case of the one of our doctors that works with a lot of Olympic athletes, and you can find his lectures on I think that's our most recent conference that we put on. But anyway, he works with them to help get their brain and their body connected to the point where they can listen to themselves better because they sense and feel everything. he was talking about one particular athlete, and she won double gold medals at the most recent Olympics, but she did so with a fracture of her heel, and she's a jumping and a running athlete, a sprinter. And can you imagine? So just 6 weeks before the Olympics, she was doing a jump and had fractured her heel plate on her shoe, and that fractured her foot. And she didn't have much time to get ready, but what he taught her body to do through using the sensory feedback loop was to be able to continue even when the body was getting the sensation saying, I think we're in trouble. I think we're in trouble. That's what limits most of us from being able to perform at a higher level in our athletic capacity is we get these little messages that tell us, oh, I don't think we should go that far. But learning how to understand what truly we can do, and also how to talk to the body and say, I'm still protected, I'm still okay, I'm still safe. And it's all in these primitive systems, primitive reflex systems that are set up in the body to protect us and to help us to be able to survive. Well, we watch a doctor down in Arizona, Dr. Sean Drake, and he works with all these professional golfers and baseball players and football players. And what he has learned is that the best thing that he can do is take them up into their positions, their stances, your ping pong, you're getting ready in your table tennis. Well, there's certain postures and things that if he can help improve the communication, your body remembers how to set the big toe on the left side and how to put your hand here. And so he's working with people right during their stance and position, and they're holding the bat and they're getting ready to throw a football, and he's connecting the dots in their nervous system using our tool to help their brain say, oh yeah, I'm aware of where everything is at. And the great thing is that once you sense, because you've trained at that sport for a lot of years, once you sense and feel the rest of the parts and pieces better, you can control them and you can react faster, and your foot doesn't give out when you reach. And all of these things happen so that we don't go into injury nearly so often.
Yeah, and can you sign me up? I'm not kidding. If so, in my sport, it is one of the fastest sports response time sports in the world. I think we're second to NASCAR or something, but it is the kind of sport that I'm getting ready for a year from now to compete in, like a world championship. And I don't know how to do it properly. And so, what you're talking about are ways to learn how to do it. However, can I talk about the intuitive nature of this too? So, when my best friend sees me take out my Rezzimax and put my feet on it, it's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, it just feels good. Now, we've talked about a number of different things, but it doesn't stop with us adults, does it? Across the board. You may have a dog, you may have a cat, you may have a child. So I want to emphasize a horse. Thank you. Sorry, Mary Jane. Kim, this is for you. But I want to emphasize the safe part of this. The other thing, I had a question come in from someone, a listener on the show. And here's their question. Thank you, Dr. Pat. Thank you, Mary Jane. Thank you, Mr. Peck. Thank you for this show, but I do have a question for you. How can this be used as a supplement slash, everybody abbreviates, so I apologize, supplement or complement if I'm getting, for example, an IV for rheumatoid arthritis, or somebody is getting a treatment for cancer? Is there anything that works to improve that treatment? Now, that's a great question, isn't it?
Yep, that's for Sharik.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Everything that you can do from the feet and the toes and the fingers helps to decrease the neuropathy with our cancer treatments. It helps to improve the communication with the vagus nerve has to keep the body functioning. And it's that communication system that helps balance the right and left hemispheres of the brain that help improve communication for a nonverbal child on the spectrum or adult on the spectrum. It's that system that is so important and running in the background that helps us to recover from absolutely everything that we're going through. It takes the infusion coming in and helps the system be more efficient so that it's directing that very important help right where it needs to go. And we have seen individuals with rheumatoid arthritis that even after just a couple months of working on their hands and their feet and their arms and their legs, they're back to getting down on the ground and playing with grandchildren. And, we have lots and lots of those stories. But the bottom line is a person needs to feel it for themselves. Your friend needs to feel that for themselves. And then they won't ask you, what are you doing? They'll say, how do I get one?
Exactly.
You know,
Mary Jane, let me
and
get back to you, Mary Jane. Go ahead.
Sharik, talk a little bit about the two devices that we offer.
Yeah.
So this one right now holds a little brain on it, but it's got a set of tuning forks so you can hit right and left sides of the brain and spinal cord. But and this little device, this is our family. And this one has the ability to go in and organize cranial nerves from the teeth and from the mouth and the tongue and the eyes and getting all of them communicating right. And this one has the ability, we can even put it into a soft, fluffy little coo, a Highland coo. You can put it in there and put it on a timer and it'll help a child or an adult just fall asleep as they cuddle this little thing. Those frequencies are amazing, but they're complementary in both of these devices. And they both take use of those 3,000 frequency points and they run it back through patterns or algorithms. All of that in the training of our devices, we make public. You're welcome to go through the training before you ever have your hands on one, but it's certainly easier to have one and run yourself through the treatment while you're watching it. But both of those tools, so helpful. We made a fanny pack for both of them, so you can just put it on your waist or on a hip. We've also got an extremity strap where you can put it to your arm or your leg or your head, a headband where you can wear this device and retrain your brain while you're doing walking or items that are difficult for your balance. Anyway, we have a variety of those tools just to be able to help people.
And you have a special right now on those tools. And I want to also mention for animals, we have the fanny pack and we put one of the Rezzimax in that pack and wrap it around the dog and our dog wears them. If you pull out the Rezzimax, the dog will come from the other side of the house because he wants to be done first. And you'll rub one side, he'll stand up and he'll roll over the other side. So tell us about the special you've got going.
I think there's a special, you can find it on our website. I think Mary Jane, I think you've got a code that they can even take more off when they use that code to order it directly from Mary Jane. But reach out to us if you have any questions. We just want to be able to help as many people as we can with these tools. We just got back 2 weeks ago from speaking at the American Veterinarian Chiropractic Association. I'll tell you, that's a fun group of people where some are chiropractors and some are veterinarians, but they're so focused in on working with animals of all kinds. And it's amazing to see what our doctors can do with these great tools.
Yeah. So the end of the story is don't wait. You don't even have to think about it. Rezzimax can help everyone in the family, your children, your animals. And it's about the wellness journey. Start out the new year with outstanding wellness and believe in yourself and the possibilities of being the best you could be.
Yeah, I want to ask all of you this one question, and it goes to what's a better word? it goes to our mental capacity for a moment. I get so many emails, so many questions about how do I improve my brain functioning. I'm working 60 hours a week. I got to raise the kids, la, 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 la. How do I improve what's going on up here? And we didn't talk about that. And I know we've got about 4 minutes left. So I want to touch upon that. You touched upon the vagus nerve, but a lot of people don't connect that is connected to the brain.
Yeah, and that's a good question for Sharik, because I also have had many calls from CEOs of companies who are so stressed out and they're looking for something to help them in that
Yeah.
area. So
Yeah.
go, Sharik.
Last week, I worked with an individual who died 3 times in the last couple months. She was so sick. She's lost 80 pounds and her nervous system was all shut down. But her heart is not functioning well. Her lungs are not functioning well. She's on oxygen 100% of the time. And we started teaching her something that Mary Jane Mack had shared with us, and that was using the device over the organs and just kind of making circles over the gallbladder, over the liver, over the organs in the tummy. And I started having her do this, and she sent me a note the next day, and she said, "Holy cow! Besides the fact that I slept for hours after you activated my organs." And this is something that she can now do herself now that she understands it. But she said, the most incredible thing is that the brain fog that I have experienced for months since this started, the brain fog is lifted, and I am thinking clearly and I am seeing the world clearly for the first time in 4 months. She said that feels like a big miracle, to just feel and sense the world and not have the brain fog. And there's so many people out there with the long haul COVID and everything else that brain fog is something that they've just been getting used to. It does not need to be there. As you balance cranial nerves and as you bring the prefrontal cortex and everything back online in the brain, that fog goes away.
I love it. Now, thank you. I want to thank you both. But before we hop off here, Mary Jane, you're the person for people to call if they want to learn more, if they want to get a treatment. So, what is the best way for people to find out about you?
You can call 425-392-0659. That's the main number. And or we have, look at the maryjanemack.com for other information, and you could give us a call.
And Rezzimax is Rezzimax.com, right? Everything is there, correct?
Yeah, at Rezzimax.com. We offer the Rezzimax from our office. You could call us, ask any information, call for an appointment. You could also look up all the information on Rezzimax.com or look at YouTube for information on, just type in Rezzimax and you'll find any information you want. Sharik has done it all, so he's pretty amazing. We are very fortunate to have him in our life, and he is always there for me if I have any questions. So be the best you can be and change your life with Rezzimax.
And Sharik, listen, I have about 30 seconds. What do you want to leave people with?
Hope.
Yeah.
I want them to have hope that they can heal, because it starts with hope. And if you can have hope, we can teach you how to get your eyes functioning better. We can teach you how to connect the systems. It's possible, and you've got to have hope.
Yeah, I love it. And please remember me when it comes to that study out there, because I got to get my game on here, okay?
We'll work with you. We'll get you going.
Get me going. Thank you
right.
all. This is amazing. And I have to say to all of you, we just barely scratched the surface. There's a reason that when I go to sleep at night, I take the Rezzimax with me, but we'll save that for another show. Thank you all for tuning us in and turning us on. This show will replay. It'll be in our archive. If you have missed any of it, share it, pay it forward, pass it on, and call Mary Jane. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.